Welcome to the Healing Collective podcast, where we explore the paradox of healing.
And we broadcast all of the healing codes to support a world of more heart-centered humans. What's happening?
There's so much happening. I'm not sure where to start. I talked to one of my friends last night after not having talked to him for a while. Okay, so we always say that everyone has some truth for you, and like all feedback that you get, like regardless of how well someone knows you, that there's some truth in it and there's something for you. So he knew me when I was much younger pretty well, and then we've reconnected. But there's a lot of missing pieces. Like, he doesn't really know any of my friends. So it's interesting. But he gave me feedback that he has a sense, and he said, I might be wrong about this, but this is my sense. He said that I surround myself with people who are like impressed with my achievements and that want to hang out with me because of like coaching or my position at Mega Food or something like that, like all this achievement related stuff. And that he believes most of my friends are like want to hang out with me because of those qualities that I have and that those things that I've achieved, and that they'll do things that I want or that I say because they like respect or admire me for my achievements. And I was like, wow, I've never heard someone say that. To me, it just feels so like a three thing. Like, I'm not even aware. I would think most of my friends don't even know what my day job is. But like, then Mia came over last night and I was like, I got this feedback. I was like, is this true? Like, is part of why you like being my friend because I've like a coach and do all this stuff? And she was like, oh, fuck yeah. I brag about you all the time. I think you're fucking cool. I totally admire you. Yeah, it's totally one of the things I think is cool about you. And one of the reasons I want to be friends with you. So I was like, okay. Does that land for you? Do you think I'm like very achievement oriented, and that maybe that's why? Because I think I've been just suffering under the idea that I have to be super nice to everybody all the time, and like different weird codependent stuff in my friendships than like thinking I could rest on my achievements of being a coach or something like that. It just didn't even occur to me that people would think of me that way.
Yeah, I can see the truth in that. Like, I guess for me, it's more that I see that you find your worth and your power in your achievements. And so what I would say is like, you surround yourself with people at a lower end of a power dynamic, like people that don't make as much money as you, that don't achieve the way that you do. You know, there's like a clear dichotomy, in a lot of your friendships, your core ones.
Yeah.
So I don't know that I don't associate it as much with, like, I think that step of like assuming it's so you can be like elevated for your achievement. To me, it's just this bigger part of white supremacy culture of like, that is what our culture teaches us, like makes us worthy and good. And if you are exceptional in that, like, you're likely going to create the duality of that in your existence, you know? Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. I don't think of myself as having achieved anything except for being good at working a lot. That's the only, like, I don't think of those things that, or I wasn't, but I mean, I can see it. And I think I'm so not oriented to that I might actually talk about my stuff in a way that maybe sounds like like I'm showing off or something, because it doesn't, like, I'm unconsciously not picking up that people might experience it that way. Maybe. I don't know. He talked a lot about how.
Well, if you think about it though, like you have always felt like CLG is like a pretty prestigious thing to be a part of.
Yeah.
And so I would say, like, there are ways you're conscious, like you wanted to move your way up in that because you held it in a place of prestige to be, you know what I'm saying? And that if that's your consciousness, like other people are going to co-sign to that, like, Oh, and even the way you talk about CLG when you know, like when I was around like Paul and Mario, like there's a way you talk about it that creates that same energy for other people around you. Like, oh, this is really special that she's doing this, you know?
Maybe that's why I'm good at being the salesperson for the organization.
Right.
Because I do think it's really cool and special, and that probably comes off when I talk to people. So,
yeah.
and he also was like, I don't think you have a lot of people that say no to you. And I think if I say no to you, that's you're like, what? And that you're getting weird because people don't often say no to you. Mm-hmm. And at first I was like, that's fucking true. I mean, I don't like people saying no to me. I prefer to get my way about things. That's a big thing. Like, I know that I do that. And then I was poloing with Deb, and she was like, people say no to you all the time. Primary partners say no to you all the time. She's like, Steve said no to you like a lot over and over again. She's like, you get plenty of no's. And I was like, oh yeah, I could see that too. But
well, I can see that
I'll like really cling.
The person giving you the feedback, the projections,
it's thick.
Well, it's like we attract people that they're ideally they're going to admire certain characteristics in us and want. And, and like your relationship with Steve, like in the beginning, you admired all these qualities of him, and they're becoming more of you. You're recognizing that he's just a projection of the parts of you that are not fully activated. And so I just think the very specific feedback you got from that specific person are the things that they see in you that they make themselves less than around.
Yeah.
Which probably live in them,
Yeah, this person has a lot of I can't energy, like all the time.
Right.
And I have a lot of I can energy. And I think those things are bumping into each other. But like what I've been learning about lately is I need to integrate I can't, because I have a big I can, and I think I can do all this stuff, and I actually can't. Like, I actually have limitations. Mm-hmm. And for anyone, like people listening to this, I'm working a lot, like the most ever in my life right now, because there's so many fun opportunities and things that I'm excited to do, and lots of clients. I'm very full. And I'm like reaching my own level of capacity around it, and having to actually face my own limits. And so the I can't wants to integrate over here, I think.
Yeah.
So that might be part of what's interesting to me about this friend of mine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What about your neighbor moving out? What's going on?
Oh my gosh. I'm so excited. So I've been trying to get my tenant. I have like an in-law apartment in my basement, and I have been trying to not have this person live there anymore. Like, we ended our tenancy in the spring, in like April, and she refused to leave. So I've been in an eviction process that was not going very, like, it's so slow and so expensive and stuff. So I basically offered her a bunch of money to move out. And I didn't even know when. And she just texted me today. So like anytime now, U-Haul is going to pull into the driveway and she's going to be out by the end of the day. I feel very mixed, because I've so often thought she was leaving and then she didn't leave. I like turned off the part of myself that was getting excited about getting my space back. And the vibes are like very not good. It's like very, very not good vibes for me and for the house. There's a lot of like yelling and screaming in that apartment and stuff I don't like the vibes of it in my house. So I still don't believe it all the way, but she just texted me today that she's going to be out today with like no notice. And I'm like, holy moly. So, I mean, we got to sage the shit out of this place, but I still don't feel it all the way. Like I almost don't believe it.
Yeah. I was about to say, like, until the U-Haul comes, I don't believe it. But you haven't paid her yet. You'll pay her.
No, I don't pay. And yeah, she gets the money when she's out, and the apartment's in good condition, and she has a skeleton key. Like there's an agreement. There's like a legal agreement. So that all has to happen before I pay her, and I pay her like through lawyers and stuff. So I'm not just like handing her a check. But I'm so excited to not have to employ any more lawyers right now. My divorce is almost complete too. And I'm just like, yeah, I don't want to have any lawyers anymore.
I don't think I knew that your divorce was not fully complete.
It was almost complete right before the pandemic. And then they closed all the courts. And then all this stuff in divorces is like time sensitive, like your financials. And so we had to redo everything. And yeah, it just has been wicked slow. I mean, once my ex-husband was not in my house anymore, there wasn't like a lot of urgency about all the paperwork, and our relationship's really good. So we don't argue about anything. So it was just a matter of getting it done. And then like his lawyer went in the hospital and had to get there's all kinds of weird delays. It's just taken a really long time for whatever reasons.
So is there some kind of astrological transit ending like right now for you?
Yeah. So yeah. There's been all this Saturn things. Like my astrologer Drew believes that this woman in my basement is a Saturn transit. So Saturn's about lessons and stuff. Yeah. And there's this big question of like, who do I let in my house? And there's like a bigger emotional, spiritual thing of like, who do I let in? Which is, you talk about this in some ways, like you talk about this like sex and things like that. But I had a sense, some part of me knew that this was probably not a good match when I let her move in originally. And then that it amplified and got louder and louder and more obvious over time. So it was a couple things. That's one thing. That's one person who's saying no to me. This is a person who's in my house that does not pay me anything. She has not paid me for a very long time, that I cannot make leave. And so just all my control shit, like unless I do something illegal, I can't make her leave. And it's like, she's in my house. We hear her screaming all day if we're on the first floor of the apartment, like screaming, doing like, and I can't make her leave. My kids are like disturbed by it. So there's control stuff. There's like a surrender of like, okay, all the stuff that I know how to power up and make stuff happen. And I tried 20 different things. I like hired lawyers. I tried to do like conscious communication with her. I like involved other people. I hired a fucking witch. I was doing like spells. Like I was like, what the fuck do I need to do to get this person out of my house? I don't know what to do. I was like paying healers. I paid healers for months to work on her every day to try to like help her get whatever she needs so that she can have the capacity to get out. And it just wasn't happening. And so there's been a lot of learnings for me, and most of my Saturn stuff is starting to pass. Like my Saturn squares and all these direct things is starting to pass. And she's like, I feel like in the new year, this is going to resolve. It might go on a little longer, but I think it is going to ultimately resolve. So that's interesting. And then also, Mercury retrograde is a great time to like complete things that you started but haven't completed yet. So it's Mercury retrograde in my third house, which is like your day-to-day stuff. So it makes sense.
It's part of this like bigger lesson. Maybe it was you I was talking to, where I feel like the universe is like, yeah, you can manifest and all of that. Like, and there's like even boundaries to what, like all of us are to a certain degree part of the processes and rotations of everything that is. Yeah. And so it's like I'm trying to buy a house, and it was during Mercury retrograde literally started when I was starting the process.
I know, I've been thinking about this. It makes so much sense.
I'm making all these offers, and it's retrograde in my house of home. And it's like, it wasn't the time. Yeah. And me surrendering to that. But ironically, it was the time to start looking for a house. And the delays, and the universe has your back. By Gabrielle Bernstein, she's like, obstacles are always detours in the right direction. Mm-hmm. And I really feel like that's true. But I can see the ways that I, get frustrated or then can make it personal. Like, I thought I'd done all this work so that my energy is really clear, so that I can trust myself and I can manifest the things that feel in alignment to me. And so just like surrendering to like, that is true. And it's Mercury retrograde. And like the card I pulled was literally like, wait until, you know, like one of the issues was that Mercury is in Aquarius, and wait till it moves out of Aquarius. And I offered after it left, you know, Aquarius. I still don't know what's going to happen, but I feel like a lot more peace about it.
Yeah. Well, I had the most retrograde experience of all time this week. So I went and spoke at a conference in Florida. So I just flew down just for 24 hours to go to Florida to speak at this conference. And I booked the flight. I booked going to the conference and coming back. And then I had an idea to maybe go visit my friend on my way back because I didn't have the kids and I had free time. I was like, oh, I don't have the kids. I don't really need to be back. Maybe I'll go see my friend. Made that plan, rebooked, canceled flights, rebooked. Then that plan wasn't going to work out because they didn't really, it wasn't a good match for time and energy. So I canceled again, rebooked again. Then my CEO was like, why don't you take a couple of days off? Why don't you stay in Florida and relax? So I rebooked to stay in Florida and then saw that a snowstorm was coming. So I canceled it again and rebooked again. And then on the day I was flying home, my flight got delayed, which meant my other flight was going to get missed. So I had to rebook again. I rebooked 6 times on my flight that I took on Wednesday to get home. And then even then I ended up getting on my original flight because we got there faster. The delay didn't apply. And I got on the earlier flight back to Boston. It was the craziest thing. I was like, and all of that happened within Mercury retrograde. They say like, don't 3 weeks a year, don't book your travel because you're probably going to have to rebook it or try not to travel during that time. And I'm like, that's real. It ended up working out okay. And my canceled flight where like I was going to be delayed was in right near where the friend I was going to go visit. But then I was like, so I'm going to get stranded overnight in the airport near where my friend that I was going to visit was. But then I got on a flight. Like if you're really tracking the astrology of things, there's so much truth in it. And you can almost prepare yourself for like what weird stuff might happen.
Well, I just saw, you know, the Pluto return for the United States starts on February 22nd.
Well, it goes
like
exact.
2/22/22 or something.
Yeah, it goes exact on that day, but that is a super slow moving, like Pluto moves so slow. So it's like, it's been in process already. All of this shit that's already, it's not like some big thing, maybe something big thing will happen on February 22nd, but it's more like a several year thing that it will come to a head and then crescendo back down. So I don't expect full blown chaos to happen February 22nd, but like the pandemic, all the like racial stuff that's been coming up, all the labor stuff that's been coming up, all the fires and the environmental stuff, financial markets, like all of this craziness, I do think is Pluto return stuff for sure for the US.
Yeah.
Do you have a hit about where you think this stuff's going?
No, I just, you know, last year I just finished a bunch of Pluto transits, and that's why I got my tattoo this week because.
Yeah, let's see. The hurting? I emailed your tattoo parlor. Nobody emailed me back.
Yeah, he doesn't really reply to emails.
Yeah, wrists are funny because you turn your wrist.
Yeah, the direction. Can you see?
It looks awesome. Well, yeah, there we go.
And then I got Taylon's name right there.
It's beautiful.
That's probably better right there.
That's better, yeah.
Yeah,
I think with my little wrist one, like it twists up depending on the position of my wrist.
He designed it. It's like a warrior of light is how I interpret it.
Did you just let him design it? Did you just like say?
I did. I mean, I gave him like, I told him, I'm like, I think I just completed some kind of initiation, some kind of like priestess vibes. And I sent him like other wrist tattoos. It's not complete because I want to do stuff on my hand, but and the stuff on my hand is related to the earth. So it's like basically kind of like a light warrior that's here to protect the earth when it's done.
Awesome.
Yeah. So then he Yeah, but he's next level in terms of like he does all sacred geometry and stuff like that.
I know. I want to get a little Metatron on my arm, on my forearm, and I want to do that when I visit, when I'm with you for the night. But I said specifically like February 16th, and he hasn't responded, so I'm guessing maybe it won't happen, but maybe in March.
Well, you're coming back in March.
March is when I'll be in town for the SE training. Put it in your calendar.
I saw the February one recently, and I was like, yeah.
It's like the last full week of March, but it's like 6 nights if I can stay with you for 6 nights. Yeah, I'm doing advanced SE, so it's like table work and like hands-on stuff, like learning how to do nervous system stuff and regulation stuff.
So this is this a new course that you're starting after?
No, so the whole program is a 3-year program. Like it's a pretty intensive program. I've completed the beginner year and the intermediate year, and now all that's left is advanced. So it's like, and that all the advanced stuff is like in person and table work and body work. So I mean, I have all the tools. Like obviously I have a bunch of SE clients I've been practicing for a long time. So I mean, I'm cleared to do all of that. And I have case consults that I do, but I haven't done any body work. Like I haven't done any in-person stuff, because some people's practice is in-person somatic work. So I want to complete it. Like I want to do this and have this aspect of it, but I imagine I'll use it less because I mostly see clients on Zoom or whatever. But yeah, it'll be a very SE-ish week. I'll be learning a lot of stuff, I'm sure. I wonder if you'll be in a new house.
I doubt it. I think even if we get the house, it's going to take a long time to move in. I think it's going to be a slow process of. So I'll tell you some things that have been coming up for me. It's like, I've been thinking a lot about like how we can like shift the paradigm around service and how we like fund like projects that or support people that have, less resources. Yeah. And so I've been having conversations with people kind of like behind the scenes about like, I have a really good friend that we both know that he's working with an organization right now. And the idea is on the west side of Chicago is that they would help kids like buy properties, like learn how to buy properties, flip the properties, and use the profits both for the kids and for the organization, and start to build like. And so what I've been thinking about is like the opportunity to build like an endowment fund where you basically go into communities like where this house is that I'm buying. You buy the property, you flip it, and that, profit that you make, one, you've shifted, right? Like the physical space, you've regenerated the physical space, but then the money goes into like a pot, like an endowment fund or a foundation that then, and then you keep doing this. You may even be, you probably would use people of color as who the contractors are, people from the neighborhood, right? And you would even probably try to sell it to people from that neighborhood or somehow support like communal living in the neighborhood. And then, but the profits would build up over time so that, because so many nonprofits, they spend all their energy just raising money to keep doing their programming. And it creates this like really oppressive cycle where ultimately you're, totally at the effect of whoever's willing to pay you and what their guidelines are around the money. Many times, like people are willing to give like relatively little compared to what it takes to really like run an organization or give people decent salaries and things like that. So I wanted to be like ideally create some funding source that these types of the scarcity around money in terms of healing communities wouldn't be scarce, and that people really get what they deserve and not a tenth of what they deserve because it's coming through this nonprofit filter. And so like for everyone listening, like I just got a really strong hit that I was supposed to start looking for houses. I found one house and was super excited about it. And then I wanted to buy it communally. So I brought my family in to look at it, and many people in my family were a no, and found out later, did some energy work that I had kind of taken on an entity at that house, and that basically my crown chakra was blocked, and that my guidance was blocked around it. So it was like a real learning in how sensitive my energetic field is. Then keep looking, find this 100-year-old Victorian house with 10,000 square foot of land around it. You walk in, this guy is like, his name is Tom. He's 80 years old, and he used the house for many reasons, but he is recovering, has been 30 years sober, over 30 years sober, and made it a sober house for people to live there with him and his wife. There's artwork everywhere from all over the world. Like it just fills the whole space. And so just been on this journey around this house, and my guidance has been so strong. Like the cards I pull are like new residents. Like there's a dragon on one of the doors. Like it's just like, and then I realized when I was home, I bought a pine tree to put on my altar. And I wasn't exactly sure why. I thought it might be related to my mom's land, but like there's 2 pine trees, like right on the property. So I feel like pretty certain that I'm supposed to buy it, and that there's all these things emerging that I don't really understand, because I can't, I really can only afford to buy it right now. I cannot fully see where the resources are going to come to improve the internal space. But I think basically all of this to say, I think it's a journey with Freedom House, and it's a journey around regenerating land and regenerating spaces. There's a vacant church directly across from, that's basically the same price as this house. It needs a lot of work, but Freedom House is always our idea was, and a lot of where we started was trying to buy a church that was vacant and rehab it. So, and it's on Lotus Avenue. So that's been, and just like what the lotus flower represents. So I'm in a lot more peaceful place about it, but it's been bringing up a ton of edges around like, okay, like I value interdependence. I want to live more communally. And this is what it means. I want a really big space, and the realities of my financial access right now, there's limits to what I can buy and what I can afford and what I can do, and like leaning into that. And then just trusting my guidance sometimes where it's not 100% logical, like it's like sometimes like I'm seeing over and over, like I have to take the first few steps without knowing, the other steps. And this is a big step. Like I offered, and another person offered on the house, but somehow I don't know how it's going to work out, but I just feel like it's already our house. And so my sister and I would live there, and her husband and Taylor. And we, I want it to feel and look like a healing house over time.
I am so good at painting and spackling and cleaning. Like I can't wait when it's time. I want to come and get it ready to, at least I know that it needs like actual like construction and like other stuff, but at least on some level, I'm so good at putting in work. I like doing it.
That was a big thing about this, is really realizing like this is a very big house with a lot of upkeep, probably a lot of bills that I'm not even aware of because I live in a condo. So like, I don't really have to think about certain things like sewer or trash. Yeah. Like things like that. So, and I'm just like, I can't do this by myself. Like, and it is just not my skill set, like construction, painting, like that kind of stuff. Like not me. I know Jacqueline rehabbing houses. She's all about that.
Me and Jackie, give us like a weekend. We're going to like, we'll take care of it. Like we will get in there. We'll like clean everything. We'll paint everything. Maybe we can have.
There's a few other people in my community that I hope will, like artists. And so I think it's a prototype for a bigger idea. And so I'm really excited about the possibilities of that.
I like all my stuff. So like I'm making more money than I used to make, mostly because of the amount of time I'm spending working. There's just a lot of clients right now. I'm like just getting out of being not like just very paycheck to paycheck kind of situation for like most of my life. When I hear you, I'm just like, I want to take the money that I've just made and put it towards the house. Like I notice wanting to like, and I don't even know if there's like, if that's wise for me, but I do notice wanting to contribute somehow. And like, I don't even have it, but I will like over a couple of months have more money.
Well, I'm going to talk to even some people in my community. Like that was the message I got, is that you need to buy it communally.
Yeah.
It needs to be, and that all of these properties, you know, even let's look at your own house, and let's say that you could back up. Mm-hmm. It's like if your women, if your coven, if everybody, even if all they could give us 500 or 1,000, like it's about creating practices around liberation and learning, like, what does it look like to really live liberation, which would be like reciprocity, right? And there's something about giving our energy to something that makes it collectively ours, and then we all care about it more, right? Like if we felt that way more in our communities, which when a lot of our communities were first founded, people did feel like that. They're like, this is all of our land. We're all building this together. And so then you take care of it differently versus like outsourcing. And even this man who owns the place, like there's been this like beautiful little relationship built between us. We were talking every few days, and I'm going to go on Sunday and honor his wife. It'll be a year since she passed. And just like, instead of just having lawyers and real estate agents talk, because that's what we've created, right? We've created these things where it's like, we're not going to talk to each other. You have to go through these channels. And it's like,
you like can't know them. Like you have to like
know them.
Yeah.
And this house is so special and meaningful to him. And he's doing an estate sale and selling everything he owns. Like this is such a big transition. And I'm really learning, like spaces have such strong energy. And they've almost developed their own consciousness over time. So you're like walking into that. Mm-hmm. So there's like an honoring of the space and the transition and a relationality. That's an opportunity for like relationality. And I have to shout out Jacqueline, because this house, the picture on Zillow was like, so it's like you can tell the house is cute, but then it's like the yard is like out of control all around the house. And when you look at the pictures inside, you can tell like that someone older lives there, and it's an older space, you know? And I was like, but she's been pushing this house from the very beginning. She says she's always known that it's this house, and I believe
I liked the other house with the nice bathroom. Maybe that was just projection.
But, you know, I was able to really let it go because Tim, Taylor's dad, I sent him all the houses that I've looked at. And he was like, you know, this doesn't have central heat or air. It's just radiators. And for the price that they were asking, and you know what I mean? There were some pieces that I'm like, And it really was a good right now house, but it was out of my price range. And so
so this has like been coming up a lot for me, like what you were just talking about one, like trusting that things are going to be there and come through, and like more communal living, and like even resources and
what's
money.
What's meant for you will never miss you. That's the phrase that
what's meant for you will never miss you. Yeah. There's so often where I'm not believing that, and I'm acting really differently than that. Well, here's what's happening. I have strong impulses all the time to be like pretty generous, I guess. And the world doesn't know what to do with it. And
Right.
I get a lot of feedback that it's weird, or that I shouldn't be doing that it's irresponsible even, or like that it's just not normal. And I was doing it even when I didn't really have the money, but I've always made enough. Like I've always made enough money. I've not created any wealth for myself. Like I don't really have savings or anything, but like, now I'm making more. And if something comes across my consciousness of like where someone that I care about and that I'm in relationship with has a need that I have like can help with financially, like I'm having a lot of really strong impulses to just move some money around and share some of that energy, because there's energy. I mean, it's just all energy exchange.
Yeah, I have I have like a strong opinion about this.
Well, I guessed maybe you would, because I have it. I hear it almost all the time. And what's been happening is I have been more generous than I've ever been with money because I've had some more of it. It's coming back to me like literally tenfold. Like I don't think people really even know how to receive it sometimes. It's like been very difficult even for people to receive it, but I'm doing like a tenth of what I want to do with it. Like I have really strong impulses.
Well, so the life principle that governs the earth follows certain rules. And one of those rules is that there is no lack, and that, reciprocity, like reciprocal energy. And so life is our ego has taught us all of these things, and life is trying to show us and bring us back to the life principle, which is if you give open-heartedly and you trust, you will always be taken care of. I mean, it's like that thing in the Bible where Jesus says, like, look at the trees, look at the birds. Like, if God would take care of them, like how much more would you be taken care of? And so
like you don't worry about what's happening tomorrow or something like that. Like, yeah.
Well, he just said in the Bible, he says, like, look how well, like the birds have everything they need every day.
Yeah.
Like, why wouldn't that also be true, or even more for you,
Yeah.
And my journey around this has been, there's a day I'll never forget. Him and I are walking through a parking lot at Dunkin' Donuts, and this homeless woman runs up to us, and she's very aggressive, asking for money. And for whatever reason, which is not really my normal vibe, we were both very like, no. And then about an hour later, or maybe 2 hours, I had bought new shoes and they were in my car, and we were in his art studio, and we look out the window and we see a different homeless person who had broken into my car and taken both of the pairs of new shoes out of my car. Mm. And I don't know why it was obvious to me, but it was obvious to me that the lesson is like, never withhold, like you are so blessed, you're given to all the time. And there's no reason for you to withhold from anyone. And like that, I can't know like why that person might need this thing, or why that dollar or whatever I give, like for me to judge or say, well, I'll give money to you, but I won't give money to you. Like all of that is my human. And I've had like major tax debt that's been relieved. Like I couldn't pay I didn't have the money to pay a lot of my bills for like 6 months, but I had everything that I needed. And I just kept being told to wait. And then more than enough money came, and I was able to pay everything before there was any consequences. But it's about being in the flow of life and being willing to sit in this comfort of sometimes you don't have all the money that you need, or, there's just all these, it's a whole new paradigm of being with resources.
Well, what do you make of like right action? Because for me, it's not like it is pure, and it is like really like unconditional, I don't want anything in return. Like I trust the energy, whatever, but like I'm also a human being, and I also, it's tied up in my humanness too. And so what I've been putting attention on is like, what is right action? Because I have all my impulses all the time. I could just
Yeah.
follow
So
the impulse, you know, like that. I don't think
two
that that's always
things,
the
like,
right action.
well, the first thing is who you are doesn't change. The vibration at which you're aware changes. So you're going to be generous as your highest light body, and you're going to be generous. Like, that's an aspect of your personality. That's an aspect of your essence, I guess would be a better way to say it.
Mm.
But you're learning in your journey. Right action, I think, can be confusing. Right relationship, and like, I think, what are the principles by which you live? What are the values? And are you in alignment and integrity with those? And it's like right action is so subjective, because there's right action is different for everyone. We have to define for ourselves. And for me, I want to be in right relationship with life and all that is. And I think that there are principles, like, I can say these are my individual values, but I think there are values that govern all that is. And I want to be in right relationship with that. And then the last thing I thought about was what we know about you and what's consistent. Like, let's even use the situation with your neighbor. You are more like me, where we go out before we go in. We are more likely to make sure everyone around us is fed and feed ourselves last. So in duality, we know that the invitation for us is to make sure that we have what we need and that we're solid before necessarily going out to others. And so I just think that, and then there's other people that are very, restrictive and withholding, and it's their journey to learn to trust that they can, be generous more. And so your journey is learning, like, what do I need for my life and the people around me, and what's going to keep me solid first, and then what's the abundance that I have to be generous around.
Yeah. It's like all out of whack right now.
Yeah. And I can feel that. I can feel that the impulses aren't 100% clean.
Yeah, they're not.
But I think the part what I'm really learning is, like, the universe is going to catch you regardless. And it's all for your learning. So you can practice giving and you can practice withholding, and you're going to learn, and it's going to take you to the next level of awareness and help you get in more right relationship with this gift that you have of generosity. And I mean, you're a generator, right? Like, isn't that your human design? Like,
manifesting generator, I think.
Manifesting generator. Yeah, I think that's what you are. So it's like part of your purpose in the collective is to be the generator of resources.
Yeah. That's how I think about it. Like and that's why when it's like what you, like the feedback that my friend gave me, or what you said about like how it's like white supremacy culture, and I like work all the time and I put a lot of value on that. And like, I can see how all that's true, but how it lives in me is like, I'm good at that. That's my role. Like, that's
right. And it's just moving out of the vibration. Like, that's what I mean. Like, and even this is where people get really debate white supremacy culture so much. They're like, well, urgency is not always bad. And it's an overemphasis. Like, as a culture, we have an overemphasis. Like, right now, you're out of balance with yourself energetically and your relationships energetically, because you have prioritized generating so highly.
Yeah.
We're just moving and when I say moving, I mean over the next 100 years, like, we're moving in the direction of prioritizing relationality and interdependence, and valuing both sides of the hemispheres of our brain, or the masculine and feminine, together, and those things being more balanced. So all I'm saying is, it's still your gift. It won't change. You'll always be someone who works and generates more than most people.
Mm-hmm.
But for you to experience your wholeness and full balance, you got to swing back to this other side.
Yeah.
For it to be, and that to me is the right relationship. The right relationship is nothing is so, is really out of balance with anything else.
Well, it's like the combination of generating income and work and liking that and being good at it, and my emphasis on community and relationship, it doubles that I don't, and how I go out first. It doubles that I don't really check in about what I need. And what's been happening lately is I'm working so much, like I can't even get by on like 8 hours of sleep, or like I can't even make it work to have a couple of drinks that night because it messes my sleep up enough that I literally can't do what I'm trying to do right now. And so like, I'm like, I have to take a bath. Like Mia hadn't seen me. And like, there was like 4 times that she texted me, like, can I just come by for a hug? I'm in Beverly. Can I just drive in and give you a hug and just see you for a minute and then I'll leave? And I was like, literally, no, my meetings are back to back. Like I don't have time to hug you, Mia. I said it like 4 times over 2 weeks. And then one day I got out of work and it was kind of early-ish for me. Like it was like 6 o'clock or something like that. And I was exhausted and the kids weren't here and I ran a bath and I got in the bath and then I heard Mia, she's like, opens the door. She's like, what's up, bitch? Where are you? And I was like, I'm in the bath. And she was like, I don't care. And she just took the step stool and she's like, I'm going to spend time with you. And I was like, I need my bath. And she's like, cool. And she just sat next to me while I took a bath for an hour and we caught up. And she got takeout and she literally sat in my bathroom and ate her food so that we could spend time. But I was like, I still need to take my bath right now because it relaxes me and calms me down. That's the level at which I'm like, learning what it feels like I'm learning a lot about what it feels like to be out of integrity with my own needs. Like I haven't been cooking because I haven't created time for cooking. So I'm eating more takeout. Like there's no food in my house. Like there's all this stuff that's really out of alignment. Right. And I know about it. And I'm like feeling all the consequences and the pain of it. And it's getting to a place where I will change something. I'm getting clear, trying to get more clear of like what I'm going to do differently. But I'm learning a fuck ton about what it feels like to sometimes I just can't talk on the phone even if I don't have anything going on, I just have to like be by myself. That feels new. That feels pretty new.
Well, and I think my experience of you is that your identity is been this really formed a lot by how other people see you. Like, and so I scare myself sometimes because it's like these core pieces of who you are so deep, like of like your true wants, your true pain, your true, and it's like, and that's the part that feels out of balance. And then, so then there's some part of you gets so fed by what is reflected back to you in Mega Food and CLG and your coaching and your friendships. And it's like, oh, I like that. I like that. I like that. But then when they're gone, do you know who that is? Are you intimate with what's left?
Well, I'm having like a bit of an identity crisis at Mega Food because how I've always showed up there, it's pretty like typical 8 shit of like, come on, guys, we got to do this. Let's do this now. Like, okay, this is the thing. Let me tell you about this. And like getting people excited about thing and trying to move. And I did it. I moved a whole company in a direction. I moved $100 million company in a direction that I think is a good direction. But now everyone they hire sounds exactly like me. Like there's like 10 me's now. And I'm in meetings and the words that I would say are being said in the room. And then I'm like showing up over here like, I don't know, guys, I think we should slow down and get really clear on strategy. And I think like I'm showing up totally different. And I'm like, okay, is it time for me to learn how to show up different here? Like, because that consciousness is already here and in the room, there's nothing to fight for anymore. They're all in on all the stuff I said we should do as a company. They agree. Yeah. And they're putting their money, they're hiring, they're doing everything. So I'm not like, there's no push anymore. There's nothing to push for. And I'm like, I don't know who I am anymore at this company. Is it time for me to learn? Like, is there something different that wants to be me if I'm not just being an 8 trying to save the world? Like, is there some other thing that wants to get learned, or am I complete here? Is my job done? Like, did I do what I was called into doing there, and now it's time to go do something else? I don't know the answer. So it is like an identity crisis when something that I identify with a lot, and it's so thick in my programming, when that's getting flipped, I'm like, I'm like over here. I don't know. So there is a big question.
Well, it's like at the end of the day, it's not over because you're still there. I mean, it's like, that's the thing. The illusion is that it's up to you to decide. It will fade when it fades. And the other thing will happen when it happens. And you might be perceiving, I think we do start to perceive, like, let's use seasons. Like, we perceive that, oh, it's starting to get colder. Maybe winter is coming, but we're not controlling winter coming. We're not the ones deciding when the seasons shift.
That's true.
This is what I think, like, what I see in the next 100 years, be a huge decentering of our human egos, that we have really created a reality where we believe we have that much control and impact. Like, in a reality where literally the sun rises and sets every day does not give a fuck about what you're doing, in terms of where all of these alchemical processes are happening all the time. Like, we really, really think that when we want something to be over, that's what makes it over. Like, even when we say, let's use a relationship example, relationship's over, I'm done. You're not. You're suffering and in trauma because you cut something and made some drastic decision, and it wasn't in alignment with flow. We all know when something ends and we allow it to end gracefully the way that it was supposed to, without any control from us, we don't create trauma in our nervous system because we're in alignment with what was happening anyway. Or we say that relationship's over. You're still talking to them. They show up a year later. Like, it's not over because you say it is.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just think that you're perceiving changes and you're perceiving the energy shifting. I think it is likely that it will be over soon. And I don't think it will be because you make a decision about it necessarily. It'll just come to a choice point where it's like, oh, well, looks like this is what's happening now.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I was on our CLG team call on Wednesday. We like a quarterly call. And one of the people was saying, it was like a type 1 who was basically just unwinding a little bit and getting messy. And somebody was like, yeah, this for you, it's going to be the year of things getting out of hand. Meaning, like, that would be great for you to let things get out of hand and just learn about things getting out of hand. And I said, what's my year? But Diana was doing this. And so Diana tuned in and she was like, this is the year. 2022 is the year of trust for you, Bethany. You're going to get in touch with a whole different level of trust. Like, because she's hearing me about, like, I'm dividing my time between jobs and worrying I'm not going to get what I want or what I need, blah, 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 and hearing all my stuff come up about it. And she's just like, you're going to get a totally different level of trust around how friendly the universe is, and that you're going to have every single need met, and that you can trust it.
And that is the journey of all humanity. And we're all meeting it at different starting points based on, and that, like, we look at the pandemic, it's like, but yeah, like, this is the direction of humanity. And the pandemic and all of it is just to be like, look, like, you tried to control this virus. You can't do it, honey. And it's not like from this, like, it's like feels like this parent that was like, you know what? I'm going to let you do it all by yourself for, 3 years. You go live on your own. You see how you do without me. You don't need a parent. You don't need a mom and dad. Cool. Go do your thing. That kid is like surviving, scraping by, trying to prove to their parents, like, look, I don't fucking need you. Look at me. And look what I built. Right. And now the parents are coming back, and it's like, and the kid is struggling. They don't even realize they're struggling, because that's just what they're so used to, is surviving without their parents, without support. They think they're killing it, and life is like, I'm right here. Like, I was always right here. Mm-hmm. And when you're willing to get in right relationship with me, I will meet your every need, and I will support you in every way possible. But I require reciprocity, and I require to be honored and recognized as it is not just you out here. And you have all these brothers and sisters, which is also these plants and these animals. And you know what I'm saying? Like, all of it, you are to be in right relationship with and honor. This is not just you, spoiled brat who's made this all about you. So I'm excited to observe your, coming into that more deeply.
Yeah.
As am I, but all at different levels,
We can be done for this week. Thanks, Lauryn.
I love you. Bye.
I love you too. Bye. Thanks for listening. We welcome your feedback. You can email us at healingcollectivepod@gmail.com. Our website is thehealingcollectivepodcast.com, at Healing Podcast on Twitter, at Healing Collective Podcast on Instagram. Special thanks to Ethan Luck, who produces. You can find him at Ethan Luck on all platforms.